President Cyril Ramaphosa and his government must find the courage to take South Africa forward for future generations before time runs out. That's the view of Kuseni Dlamini, chairman of Aspen Pharmacare Holdings and Massmart-Walmart. Now, he says slow economic growth, increasing unemployment and load shedding are just some of the signs showing the country is in deep trouble. He joins me now in studio to speak about those concerns. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So you say government has to do a lot more to grow the economy. President Cyril Ramaphosa would argue that he's doing a lot at the moment to actually grow our economy. What more can he do?
I'm actually saying, Shahan, all South Africans, not just government, must now start getting on with the job of fixing the economy. We've had 2 milestone summits convened by the president this year, the last quarter of the year, the job summit as well as the investment summit. And overlaying that was the African Investment Forum, which was hosted by the African Development Bank. All these summits have really created platforms for the right kind of conversation to take place. We saw the right kind of commitments being made, but having summits is one thing. But executing on the commitments and the pledges that have been made is another. And that requires South Africa to have an execution discipline second to none. Yeah. It requires us to move beyond talk, beyond just saying the right things, because that's easier. I think now we need to really focus on how do we have a joined-up approach that joins up the excellent and world-class capabilities of our world-class private sector, the excellent and world-class capabilities of our civil society, of the labor movement, as well as sections of the public sector, to be able for us to turn the tide, as it were. We've just heard that global unemployment is going down, but the number in South Africa is unfortunately almost more than 5 times the global average of unemployment, so which is around 5.2%.
Do you have a grand plan or any idea on how to make this happen in South Africa, that our government and that people in the private sector is not making happen?
Just 4 things that I can sort of highlight for possible consideration. I think the first and foremost issue is for us as a country to really elevate the issue of economic growth as a national burning strategic priority. Every policy that any minister or DG, or indeed that any company in the private sector, any commercial strategy that companies pursue in the private sector, we need to ask ourselves the question, what kind of output or impact, meaningful and tangible impact does it have on economic growth? From a business point of view, from a government point of view, from a labor point of view, from a civil society point of view, and across all political parties. This is not just an issue for the governing party. You need all opposition parties. I can't think of any party with the name that doesn't want economic growth. Because why is growth important? The president has set the target of $100 billion of investment over the next 5 years. What do investors look at before they decide to invest? The first issue that they look at is where in the world is their growth. So the more and the higher our economy grows, the more we are likely to attract the investment that our president wants. We've got the problem of unemployment. How do you resolve unemployment? You need a growing economy to be able to create jobs. How do you resolve poverty? You need growth to alleviate poverty and also reduce inequalities. In a nutshell, growth is the golden goose that lays the golden egg, and we need to embrace it. The second issue is global competitiveness. As a country, we've got world-class companies in different sectors. Our automobile manufacturing industry is one of the best in the world. You go to Europe, North America, and other parts of the world, you see cars produced in Uitenhage, produced in Durban, produced in Pretoria and Roslyn. If we can replicate the lessons, the successes of the automobile industry in other sectors, have sector-by-sector strategies, where you have the sector specialists working with policy experts from the public sector to be able to position our industries to be world-class. We need to look beyond the 55 million people that we have. The third issue that I think is important is the issue of attracting foreign direct investment. And that requires us to sing from the same hymn book in terms of promoting South Africa as an attractive location of choice for foreign direct investors. And fourthly, and more importantly, the state of our state-owned companies. It needs to be addressed. Some of them are systemically important to the economy. and they're too big to fail. We cannot afford to have Eskom fail. We cannot afford to have SAA fail. We cannot afford to have Transnet fail. We cannot afford to have the SABC fail, and other can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we've got the right skills in those companies, got the right boards, the right governance processes, people who are fit for purpose, processes that are fit for purpose. We have an example in Ethiopia. Very profitable airline right on the continent.
Yes.
We don't need to look at Singapore Airways or Japanese Airways. We can just fly to Addis Ababa, sit down with the Ethiopian Airlines executives and the government and say, what are you doing differently and better than SAA?
Well,
what can we learn from that?
Let me ask you what you're doing, because you're chairman of a major company in South Africa. It's very easy for us to sit here and say government needs to do more. What do you do as a major company in this country contributing to our economic success?
You have to remember my starting point, Chan. I say it is not just government. It's all South Africans. And more importantly, the private sector, labor and civil society joining forces with government. In the companies that I'm involved in, we are investing in growing our businesses. In South Africa, we are investing in creating jobs. In the retail business, we open new stores on a yearly basis. We are transforming our supply chain, localizing sources of supply, sourcing more goods from South African suppliers, stopping imports from outside the country, helping South African suppliers that supply us to access global markets through the global Walmart supply chain, Massmart being part of Walmart. On the Aspen side, we invested R1 billion in our Port Elizabeth facility this year to grow the capacity of that facility. And as and when opportunities arise for us to bring more products and manufacture more products locally, we take advantage of those opportunities, because South Africa has got the capabilities to be able to produce pharmaceutical drugs for the world market. As Aspen, we distribute our pharmaceutical products across 150 countries in the world, and we're present in over 50 countries, first world, emerging markets, and all other countries.
Medication, which South Africans say is too expensive in some instances, they can't afford it. Also in terms of retail, many South Africans would argue that they can't afford it. You are going to business in South Africa because it's profitable. We have a market, we have people buying in South Africa despite the economic downturn. What's your step in actually making sure that you contribute to our economy without looking at that big profit at the top at the end of your financial year?
Yeah, in all the businesses that I'm involved in, we have a philosophy of believing in doing well by doing good. We believe that we have to offer affordable products. We have to offer good customer service. We have to offer convenience. I mean, on the retail side, we believe that we are one of the most competitive retailers that offer value to our customers, especially in hard times like this. You go to Macro, you go to Builders Warehouse, you go to Game, you're sure to get the best price for most of the products that you buy there, and you're sure that you won't find a better price elsewhere. At Aspen, we believe in providing high-quality, affordable medicines across the piece, and that's why we're in business. Yeah. It's really out there to make a positive and lasting impact on the lives and communities of the people that we serve.
I wish I could speak to you all night, but I can't. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
And thanks indeed.
We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Kuseni Dlamini, Chairman of Aspen Pharmacare Holdings and Massmart-Walmart.